Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of This Week in Real Estate. I'm your host, Ray, and this is the T-Wire Podcast broadcast live Wednesday, June 19th, 2024. Is the run over? Is housing done? We'll talk about that more today. Thanks for everybody for catching us. We're broadcasting live on several locations. One is Clubhouse. If you're on Clubhouse, shout out, guys. Thanks for joining us there. You can always raise your hand and come up. Scap, he's our only moderator there right now. An appraiser's a moderator who's never going to let you real estate agents up there. Anyway, if you guys want to talk about any of the topics we talk about on Clubhouse, you can just raise your hand and come on up and add your 2 cents to the podcast live. We're also broadcasting live on Instagram at the T-Wire Pod and also at Ray Zorback, RAYZORBACK. If you comment there, just like Jesse Luna waving their hand, I said, hey, I'll say hey. Then if you comment on YouTube, I can actually display your comment and then I can talk about you, or I can talk about your comment. Hillary, she's already in there today saying, no, there's no way I'm first. You were first today. What's up, Olivier from Canada, our Canadian correspondent. He's here. He said he'd let Matt be first and he dropped the ball. So thank you guys for joining us there. You can also comment on Facebook and LinkedIn, and we can display your comments there as well. And we're members of the YouTube Partner Program. So because of all your support in the past, we are now members. I think there's like 7,000 something subscribers. So we're on our journey to 10,000 subscribers over on YouTube. So if you've never subscribed, please do so and take just a second and share the show. We talk about all things real estate related. So we wanted to create one place where you could come and get just all of your relevant real estate news without having to go shop around the internet and click all the sources and read all that jazz. So we're here today. And the first thing I want to talk about is the DOJ. So we've been through, if you're just joining us, you've missed like 2 years of lawsuits, real estate commission discussions. I mean, there's a lot that you can catch up on. But one of the first things that happened was the DOJ went after NAR. And they went after NAR saying that there were all these things that NAR was doing that the DOJ didn't like that the NAR was doing. One of those things was that all of the commissions were hidden. And they said, we don't want the commissions to be hidden. We want those commissions to be out there and public so that Zillow, Realtor.com, they publish them and buyers can see exactly how much their buyer agent is receiving or the offer that is being put out there. So NAR said, okay, they complied with that. They also said that they would no longer keep listings off the market. If it's listed, it has to be listed on the MLS. And that got rid of all the coming soon stuff around the nation. Unless, actually, it didn't. It just made it worse within a brokerage. So if you were within your brokerage, you could keep stuff off the market and not tell anybody about it. But they don't want to ruffle any feathers, so they just did as far as they could. So so now, fast forward, like I feel like it's been 2 years. It may be a year and a half. It's been a long wait. Fast forward, the NAR settlement takes place, and one of the issues with the NAR settlement is that they said that they want the commissions removed from the MLS and now no longer displayed on the internet. Well, this flies directly in the face of the settlement that the NAR had with the DOJ, but that's not necessarily the reason why that they think it should be readdressed or reheard. The reason they want it to be reheard is because the stuff that the DOJ said to do is basically now not in line with the settlement, nor is it in line with a lot of the practices, because the DOJ says, hey, we're actually removing ourselves from the settlement, which is not normal. That's not normal in this practice. We're actually removing ourselves from the settlement, and now we want to restart investigations or leave it open for investigation. And so the DOJ went back on their settlement with the NAR. So now, fast forward to today. The DOJ says it is not warranted. Basically, the short of it is the DOJ is saying we've investigated ourselves and found no wrongdoing. So that's where we are with the DOJ. So the U.S. Department of Justice on Monday argued that NAR, quote, does not identify any errors of law or fact meriting a panel rehearing. over whether the antitrust enforcer can reopen its probe into NAR rules. So that's what they want to do. They want to reopen the probe and probe the NAR rules, even though the settlement has already happened and has totally kind of flown in the face of some of the settlement that the DOJ originally proposed. They say the panel decision is fact-bound and narrow, correctly relying on the plain language of the 3-sentence letter. The petition does not identify any errors of the law or meriting a panel rehearing or fall short of meeting the, quote, demandingly high standards warranting a rehearing en banc. It's French. While NAR's petition contends that the DOJ should be held to its alleged promise to close its investigation, the DOJ disagreed, noting that NAR itself suggested the backward-looking, quote, has closed language, and that the DOJ did not immediately reopen the probe. So yeah. They say nor did the division reopen its investigation, quote, seconds later, but 8 months later, after reevaluating the facts and continuing competitive, anti-competitive effects of NAR's rules on the real estate industry. Ventel Williams, he's the PR guy, spokesperson for NAR, said, we filed our petition in furtherance of NAR's commitment to championing the interests of our members and the home buying and selling public. So kind of waiting to see what's going to happen here. Normally, a government agency that decides to settle with someone doesn't just go back on that settlement. But it appears not only can they, but they are. And it could lead to more hot water for NAR in the future, but this time with the DOJ. It would be really interesting if the DOJ wants us to do things that fly in the face of the NAR settlement. But my understanding is they've been pretty cozy with the folks that are suing the NAR. But that's maybe hearsay. But I think Ketchmark, the attorney, has consulted with the DOJ. They've had meetings. I don't know what those meetings mean. All right. So that brings you up to date. Other than that, all the lawsuits are waiting on some of the appeals to go through. Once the appeals go through, then the lawsuit's going to finally be settled. The money to be paid out. But supposedly a lot of the practices and changes are still taking place. The big one from NAR, all those changes are going to take place. I think it's August 17th. I think that's the most recent date everything's been moved to. So if you haven't gotten an email from your MLS and you're a real estate agent, look for it because they're going to be sending an email out saying what their new blank in the MLS can do and what it can't do. And so be sure you follow that so you're not in future trouble. Justin Conoco, another brother from the Northern Mother, said, I came to take the maple syrup crown. You'd have to get it from Olivier. You guys can battle to the death over pancakes, preferably. Canadians bleed maple syrup, right? All right, so let's talk about Andy Florance. Andy Florance is the homes.com. Well, he's the CEO of CoStar and founder of the CoStar Group. And now he is over homes.com. I think the guy that was the CEO of homes.com is no longer the CEO, but I can't remember. Anyway, he has this big interview on Inman. And the Inman took this headline and said that Andy Florance talks homes.com, the fallacy of pure buyer agency. So what it makes it sound like is that Andy Florance somehow came out against buyer agency. And that's not what the article says. So if you're reading this and you're like, oh, I don't like those homes.com guys because they're not for buyer agency. That's not what he's saying. He's basically saying that in their marketing efforts, they give way more value to an agent that has listings than they do to agents that don't list, that are just pure buyer agents. So if you're a pure buyer agent, you are not going to find as much value as a listing agent would in the homes.com platform. And that's actually what he's saying. So I just wanted to cover that because it looks incendiary and I've already seen some tweets or comments about it and that kind of stuff. Just read the actual article because he doesn't say buyer agents are dumb or he doesn't say he's anti-buyer agents. He's just saying that on his platform, you're going to get more value if you are a listing agent. Now, he does say he believes there's a lot of fake agents out there. And this is kind of what I wanted to get into. I mean, they've been doing the portal giant battle between them and Zillow for a long time, but he talks about fake agents. And what he means is, he said there's been several occasions which people have been duped. You wanted information about a listing, you hit the, inquire about this property button, and you were sent to some random agent that has no idea about the property. And hopefully it's a good agent, but in many cases, it's just a random agent with no real track record of history. And he says that's led to a lot of consumers feeling duped by those portals. And of course, this is their differentiation between them and Zillow, Realtor.com, and some of those other portals, is that they're saying, we're going to connect you directly with the listing agent. In some states, they don't want that. In our state, we do want that because we feel like we could sell our listing better than any other agent because we know more about it. But he calls them fake agents. And he says, that may sound harsh to some, but in the industry, there's a lot of people that feel like they've been duped by getting through a portal and getting with someone that has no history or track record, or very limited because they didn't shop that person like most people shop for their listing agents. Let me find the exact, hang on. And this is where he says we don't provide as much value to those people who aren't really active in the business or have no track record in business because we're all about transparency. We're a platform where people who have had success in real estate can brag about what they've done. And while we do have thousands of people who have no listings using the platform, I think longer term, we're focusing on sales and marketing efforts to the folks who do have listings. So I'm in their new program. I'm getting lots of views. We're not getting a ton of leads and we're not getting a ton of conversions. So that's my current experience with the program. It's not a bad program. It seems to be getting more eyes on some of our listings, but the value of the leads that are coming through are pretty low quality for us. But at least we can show our sellers like, hey, this is what's happening over here on this platform, and here's how many views you're getting. So that is good. The purported hundreds of thousands of visitors and views in our area, that's not directly translating to hundreds of thousands of views on my specific properties or my specific profile. But we are getting some activity there. I just don't know yet if it's going to be worth the squeeze as far as the money goes. If you are using homes.com, I'd love to hear what you think about it. And if you're a buyer agent who's currently using the other portals, what do you think about his retort? How is this going to change business for you, especially as commissions change? How is your business model going to change? Are you still going to be going through the portals, or is this going to be a totally different ball of wax for you moving forward? Okay. Angad Shahal says, new home sales drop. Is there a recent report that came out? So it's not necessarily new home sales, but it is home sales. We're going to get to that in just a second. So hang on. Wow. I'm getting to all the comments from, I had to go up quite a bit. I didn't realize I missed that many comments, but Justin and Olivier are fighting in the comments. He said, the French don't fight fair. He said, low blow time. Olivier, so, you guys are funny. Y'all should settle it with a wine tasting and some cheese. Okay, let me get to the next news article. This one is from NAHB. So it says, families must spend 38% of their income on mortgage payments. The new NAHB index shows. So a new quarterly cost of housing index unveiled today by the National Association of Home Builders and Wells Fargo underscores the housing affordability crisis in America by revealing that in the first quarter of 2024, 38% of a typical family's income was needed to make a mortgage payment on a median priced new single-family home in the United States. Low-income families, defined as those earning 50% of the area's median income, would have to spend 77% of their earnings to pay for the same new home. And that sounds terrible, but I grew up a lot of my life not wealthy, and we couldn't afford a new home. We rented, so I think that kind of sounds normal. The 40% or 38% of your typical family income needed to make a mortgage payment on a median new single family home is a little bit high. I think, Dave Ramsey's like keep it at 25%, but hovering somewhere around 30 to 35-ish%. I think that's probably historical, but this is a new index. So I'm not sure exactly how they're measuring it or what they measured it against. The figures track closely with purchases of existing homes in the U.S. A typical family would have to pay 36% of their income of the median priced existing home, while a low income family would have to pay 71% of their earnings to make the same mortgage payment. But I don't think a low income family would be buying in the median. That's a low income family would be buying a lower priced home in general, right? I guess they're just saying like this is the disparity between the low income family and the median home. But there are homes in the lower 1/3 of the market that are great houses that eventually will go up in value. So I'm not really sure what they're trying to prove with that number. The cost of housing index clearly shows the growing shortage of affordable housing is hurting families and communities nationwide. Let me go back. For instance, you could say a high income family would have to buy the median home and they're only paying 10% of their income. Well, yeah, but unless they're buying investment properties, the high income family is not purchasing a median home. So I don't know. I don't know. I think I feel like if they're going to look at the low income family would need to pay 71%, then they should also throw in there the high income earners would only have to pay this percent. I don't know. It's an interesting number. I don't know what they're trying to say. NAHB has released a 10-point plan to tackle the housing affordable crisis. With nationwide shortage, roughly 1.5 million homes, a lack of housing units is the primary cause of the growing house affordability challenges. NAHB Chief Economist Robert Dietz said, policymakers at all levels of government need to enact policy changes that will allow builders to construct more homes, such as speeding up permit approval times, providing resources for skilled labor training, and fixing building materials supply chains. That's a huge, and also not on that list, surprisingly, is removing the red tape, which brings us to the next article. But before we do, they have the top 5 severely cost burden markets. So if you're in these markets, this would be a good piece of content just to talk about and get it out there and maybe usher in some change to your market. Urban Honolulu, Hawaii, Naples, Marco Island, Florida, San Diego, Chula Vista, Carlsbad, California, San Francisco, Oakland, Berkeley, California. So the top 5 least cost burden markets are Cumberland, Maryland, in West Virginia, is that -w.va, Springfield, Illinois, Elmira, New York. So that's a 15, 16, and 16% of income to pay for a mortgage. So there you go. So the next article, though, I want to get to is a recent push that will require new homes to meet the stringent energy efficient requirements of the 2021 International Energy Conservation Code, the IECC. So if you're in real estate not familiar with the IECC and the ASHRAE, I guess it's ASHRAE. It sounds like ashtray though. ASHRAE 90.1-2019. So it will price many home buyers and renters out of the market and give them no choice but to stay in older, less efficient homes. That says the National Association of Home Builders in a testimony before Congress, or was it just I don't know if it was a testimony before Congress, but they just weighed in on it. Yeah, testifying. On behalf of NAHB at the House Energy Subcommittee, Sean Woods, a home builder from Blue Springs, Missouri, said the negative consequences of implementing a restrictive, costly national energy code with no consideration for local conditions outweigh the minimal improvements of energy efficiency and is a misguided effort. He says, quote, without adequate review or consideration of how it will affect homebuyers or renters, HUD and USDA have rammed through a mandate that will require single-family construction financed through both agencies to be built to the 2021 IECC, said Woods. This mandate will do little to curb overall energy use, but will exacerbate the housing affordability crisis and hurt the nation's most vulnerable house hunters. Especially in an environment where people are already paying 30%, 38% of their income. Now, if everything's built to these additional standards, it is going to go up in price. Studies have shown that building to the 2021 IECC can add as much as $31,000 to the price of a new home, and it would require up to 90 years for a home buyer to realize the payback of the added upfront cost. Wow. I mean, more people should analyze all things energy efficiency, including solar. We've had a couple of situations right now in which solar is knocking people out of the market because they have it, and so it's an added cost of the new buyer has to either take on the loan or the seller has to pay off the loan at the time of close. So therefore, the added cost is putting them at the top of the market, and appraisers, SCAP, are not giving a huge valuation to it. So now if we have increased energy efficiency from the IECC is required on our new builds, it's going to continue to price new builds at the very top of the market. Rambo Realtor on Instagram says solar sucks for sellers. Evan Rayborn Homes. What's up, Evan? He's got the mind blown emoji. All right, let me see if there was anything in this. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac would provide 72% of the financing for new home purchases. If Fannie and Freddie were forced to comply with the 2021 IECC mandate, this would become a de facto national standard and would be a massive blow to housing affordability. Meanwhile, Woods noted that policymakers are largely ignoring the existing housing stock, 130 million homes of the nation's 137 million that were built before modern building codes took effect in 2010. So that's the argument. If you do this, it's going to knock the affordability off, and anyone who would be buying a more efficient home than it's not as efficient as their standards, but it's still far more efficient than the building codes in 2010, those would-be buyers are out. And so now you have them staying in older, less efficient homes. And in many cases, because they're staying in that means investors aren't buying it, fixing, flipping it. The new buyer's not coming in there and changing out all the doors and windows, making it more efficient. Hillary Kerchief says, but Dave Ramsey thinks everyone should have 20% down. Is still be saving and missed out on the past year's boom. Yeah, so he has come off of that a little bit. During the boom time, he did say that you could save 10% or put 10% down. And he did let his, I want to say he went up to 30% of your income could be towards your housing. So he did say for your primary home, he did loosen that a little bit. And I think he said you could do a 30-year fixed instead of a 15-year, which he previously recommended. So he did loosen that up on a little bit during the boom, but I don't know where he is now. I haven't heard him talk about it. Jennifer S. Goodman says Dave Ramsey's formula works for exactly when it comes to affording home ownership right now. Dave Ramsey's formula works for who exactly? Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. I mean, there's a lot of people that do it. We have, so I'm a Dave Ramsey ELP because we went through the whole Dave Ramsey program, and there's a lot of people that are paying big money on house payments to pay them down, but they're out of debt. They don't really have any home payments, or they don't really have any installments like car payments or whatever. So they only have a home payment, and it's still working well for them. They're taking advantage of these huge gains in equity right now too. Rambo Realtor said 10% to get the full builder incentive. 15 years mostly acts against buyers most of the time. Yeah, it depends on if they're going to stay. If they're going to stay there, 15 years is good. But if they're not going to stay there very long, they won't. Now, the median home stay right now is 13 years. So that did go up after the 2007, 8, 9, after that crash. Because previously, I mean, it was getting on down there as far as the years in a home. Jesse Luna said, how's appraisals doing in everyone's market? Scap, you're on the call on Clubhouse. We have a listener question. Are you seeing a lot of missed appraisals right now, or are things pretty much hitting contract price? What's going on?
Well, that's a good question because obviously it's market specific and it depends on how many crappy appraisals you have in your area. But here where I'm at and the stuff that I'm appraising, I would say, I mean, I think things are coming in normal. You're not, we're not stressing about it because it's not that crazy market. But I mean, some of the stuff that I've done, I've come in a little bit less because there's still people out there that are still trying to get more and still thinking it's a crazy market and everything. But I would say most things are kind of leveling out to where you have enough comps and enough data that things are right in line with what we're looking at with the market. So, I mean, again, it all depends on the market that you're in and how many sales you have out there. I mean, there's some markets here in Atlanta area where I don't have a lot of data. So I have to go back, 6, 12 months because I don't really have a lot of data to go off of because there's not a lot of sales out there. So really it's just market specific of what you're looking at.
Yeah, that's interesting. Rainbow_realtor on Instagram says appraisals are hitting Austin. You mean they're hitting under or they're hitting the value? Like, what do you mean by hitting, Rambo?
I'm pretty sure that he means that they're hitting the contract price because I mean that's always been my gripe about the profession is that you get the contract.
But Austin,
and then you see them hitting those numbers.
But in Austin specifically, the market's changing a little bit, and home prices are actually going down. So I bet he means they're hitting as in not hitting the price, but like hitting the price of the home. Yeah, he said under. So they're coming in under. So they're hitting in a bad way. Yeah, that's what. So Austin's a really unique market right now. If you're in the Austin market and not doing local content on exactly what's happening over there, it's really interesting. He said he had a recent appraisal on new construction come in short. Oh, that does not feel good. What's up, Kathy? Kathy Gunderman said, when we bought this house, my husband was 50. She said I was not, to be clear, but I insisted on a 15-year loan. When he suddenly died at 68, I was thrilled that my house was paid off. Wow. See, that's the real life stuff you have to think about. You don't exactly know what's going to happen, but if you're going to be sitting in a home for a little while, a 15-year fix, you pay way less on interest. And if if the payments are super high right now, or if interest rates are super high right now, getting off as much of that interest is a good idea. Now, if rates ever go back down to 2%, 3%, or if you can get something stupid like that, well, that's obviously better to extend that. We were paying double payments on our home. And then when we refied and got into the twos, we're like, yeah, we're going to slow play this and keep this as long as possible because we're actually making money due to inflation. So it's kind of weird. But that's like a once in a lifetime thing. I think mostly Dave is going to suggest things that help behavioral change because the behaviors are going to save you way more money than anything else. So if you can get disciplined finances, I think that's what he's after. Hillary said, missed that. Thanks for the update. Jess Luna said, Charlotte, North Carolina is beginning to see below list price, a little bit less compared to comps. Mike V said, haven't had a short one in over 2 years. Just had one come in $1 million on a 906K sell. Whoa. You're over there in California, right, Mike V? He said, had a desktop appraisal last week from Wells. Haven't seen one of those in a minute. That's really interesting. Yeah, he's in SoCal. I would think that California, the way the major cities have these major price reductions right now, that they would be adamant to go out and do those appraisals. All right. So speaking of that, let's talk about home prices. This is what On God Kahal said, asked about earlier. So U.S. home prices hit another record high, but mortgage rates are starting to decline, which would give buyers relief. So what we're seeing, maybe it's the next article. Yeah, it's the next article. Sorry. Stay tuned. So the median U.S. home sale price hit an all-time high of $394,000 during the 4 weeks ending in June 9th. That's up 4.4% year over year. It's the biggest increase in about 3 months, but there are signs that home price growth could ease soon. Interesting, asking prices have leveled off and 6.5% of home sellers are cutting their asking price on average. That's the highest share since November of 2022. Now, in our local market, we see 41% of active listings currently have price declines. So I'm not sure exactly how they're coming up with their 6.5% number. I feel like that's low. But we have 40%. And when I compared the numbers that we have now at the 42% of active listings currently have declines, that is almost what it was in 2019. It's almost the exact same. Now in 2019, it went on up in October to 45, 50. I think it was 45. I don't think it got to 50, but it got close to 50% of active listings on the market had price decreases. So check it out in your market. I use the Altos report for that, and it's been great. So I think it's kind of helped us put a thumb on exactly what's happening with current active listings. Let's see, the typical home buyer's monthly housing payment dipped this week, $2,829, which is $30 below April's high. The latest inflation report is good for home buyers because it has already sent mortgage rates down through this last week's Fed meeting will temper mortgage rate declines. Chin Zhao, Redfin's economic research lead. But on the other side of the coin, if lower mortgage rates bring back more demand than supply, that could erase the possibility that home price growth softens and push prices up even further. Lower rates and high prices may ultimately cancel each other out when it comes to home buyers' monthly payments. So in short, what he's saying is, if more buyers come into the market because rates are now a little bit better, then home prices are not going to ease anymore. They're going to go up. Now, this is what Barbara Corcoran said, what was that, 2 years ago? And everybody was like, oh, no, that's not true. That's not true. No, I guess it was a year ago when home prices started to go up and interest rates continue to go up. And she was saying you should still buy. But I mean, that's now what all the economists are reporting. This is the article about home prices are rising, but now they're at the slowest pace in nearly a year and a half. So this is where we see the home price gain slow that we've always talked about. Whenever you see the home price gain slow, then home prices are still gaining. So they said this all the time through the Trump era. They said home price gains slow, and home prices were going up. But they just kept talking about the slowing of home price gains, and they would say it like it's a bad thing. And now people are waiting for bated breath on home prices to go down. Like that's not a bad thing. So I think that's an interesting perspective shift from the major media outlets. So U.S. home prices are rising at the slowest pace in nearly a year and a half. They look at the Redfin Home Price Index, and then they compare it to the Case-Shiller Index month over month. So the blue line for the visual listeners is the Case-Shiller Index. The red line is the Redfin. So Redfin reports just a little bit earlier than the Case-Shiller Index. So that's why these numbers are a little bit behind each other. But they closely follow. So basically what you're seeing is month over month. Ad removed. See, my ad blocker is now blocking the chart. Month over month, what we're seeing is we had that huge increase, of course, in 2022 where home prices went up, shot up, and then home prices stabilized. Basically 0.8% is what they went down according to the Case-Shiller Index. So not a huge drop, but the home price gains are still going up now, 0.26% on the Redfin number. Let me get to some of your comments. Jennifer said, I'm in Austin and making the shift to local content for this very reason. Inventory is up, and knowing the local data is super important for sellers and competitive pricing. Know your hoods. Do you know Rambo, Jennifer? Y'all gonna meet. What's up, Seabrain? 3? Oh, Brian. So the Instagram usernames are very small over there. So I can see that you did this, but that's it looked like brain for this far. What's up, Julie? Julie Mazzina checking in from Facebook. All right, let me see what other charts are on here. New listings. Here's the new listing chart. We are increasing the amount of inventory that we have, but it's still super slow. The latest numbers look like it's from April, May, maybe May. I don't think they have the June information. No, we're still in June 19th. Chinzal said, we learned last week that inflation continued to cool in May, which means mortgage rates could decline in late summer or early fall. A drop in mortgage rates would bring both buyers and sellers back to the market, which could either accelerate price growth or pull it back, depending on whom comes back with more force. If sellers come back faster, prices would likely cool, but if buyers come back faster, prices would likely ramp up. And since home prices do make up a big part of the inflation, that would be interesting. That we probably would not see, if that happens and rates kind of drop naturally, we would not see the Fed adjust rates down because home prices would go up, which would then make the inflation number stay higher than that 2% target for sure. All right, so let's look at home sales. This is the big one that fell. Home sales fell to one of the lowest levels on record in May. So here are home sales. It's below 400,000, or right around 400,000. So home sales fell 1.7% month over month in May on a seasonally adjusted basis and dropped 2.9% from a year earlier. There have been just 2 months in the past decade where fewer home sales. October of 2023, when mortgage rates jumped to a 23-year high, and May of 2020, when the onset of the pandy brought housing market to a halt. So yes, let me zoom in on this chart here. So you can see the onset of the pandy right here. And I'm still nervous about saying the full word because I don't want to get permabanned or whatever from the YouTubes or whatever, wherever we broadcast. But so yes, we are now at the second lowest point since May of 2020. And the reason why this happened was because of what happened in March, April of 2020, where people basically just pulled their home off the market. So many people stopped buying. It was like a really crazy drop for 1 month. So naturally, on the homes closed, 30 to 45 days after that would have been in May. And that's why you see the number of home sales drop in that time period. Now we're in a time where if we look back 30 to 45 days, we did have higher interest rates. But I think there's just a lot of uncertainty in the market. No one knows who's going to be president. No one knows what exactly is going to happen with rates in the future. Everyone's nervous about what's going to happen with home prices. Is there going to be another crash because of the crash we lived through in 2007 and 8? I think there's a lot of people that are fearful that that could happen again when it's just not the case. If you look at all the economic data and you turn off the YouTubers, except for me, who say that everything's crashing and it's all going to end and it's, hellfire and brimstone. If you look at the actual data, we're nowhere near the amount of inventory that we need to satisfy the current demand if rates were lower. So that's the question. If rates trickle down, then you're going to have an increase in buyers and we have to increase that supply immediately or home prices are going to still go up. So I think we have a relatively strong housing market actually. It's just a smaller piece of the pie for real estate agents that are in there because there's so many more agents and so fewer home sales. Home prices hit another record high in May and mortgage rates kept climbing. So this is the chart is the median sale price of homes. And we've already talked about that record high, but there's the chart to see it's, if you invested in a home in 2012, you're coming out pretty nicely right now. Was that 12 years? Julie from Iowa said, agreed, I'm writing 2 a week. Okay. And is this the last article? There wasn't a ton of news today, honestly, I think because of holiday. So, hang on. I have to turn off the autoplay ad. Where is it? I can't even find the ad that's playing. Oh, there it is. All right. Oh, no, I clicked on the ad to stop the playing. I did not click on the ad to see it. All right. So let's share this tab. So here are the least affordable cities for potential home buyers. This is not in America. This is in the world. And there are 5 of the 10 cities are in the U.S. All right, so first up, Hong Kong. These are the least affordable of 94 markets. Hong Kong, you would think Dubai, because everything's so expensive in Dubai, I guess, but Hong Kong is number 1. Sydney is number 2. So there's a beautiful view from the penthouse. Vancouver, Canada. What are you guys doing up there? I do think it's funny. Like, these are real beautiful skyline, a beautiful skyline of Sydney, and Vancouver, Canada is like, so, I mean, it's a skyline, but it's not the most pretty because it's just like building on top of building on top of building. So Vancouver, Canada is number 3 on there. Then we have San Jose, California. So the first American city drops in at number 4 on the least affordable. And the photo that they chose from San Jose, this is, so if you Google San Jose, California, let's just Google it. All right. Let me share this tab instead. This is the kind of stuff you see for San Jose images. Got to be careful. All right. So some beautiful, beautiful skylines in San Jose. And the article uses a picture of a, it looks like maybe early spring, like the hardwood trees don't have leaves on them yet. Some houses that, you know, they're not the most well kept. It's been a rainy, cloudy day on a terrible, dirty street, wet street. And this is the photo for San Jose, California. Why'd they do that? Somebody's got a vendetta. All right. Los Angeles. They chose a pretty good picture from Los Angeles, though it does show quite a bit of smog. It's funny because in Arkansas, we don't have air quality alerts, but apparently that's a thing in other parts of the country. So this is some alternate art they could have chosen for Los Angeles, some beautiful pictures of skylines, but almost all the pictures are definitely smog. Well, this one's clear. That's a clear one right there. All right. So then number 6 is Honolulu, Hawaii. Beautiful city, beautiful photo they got there. It would be tough for you to find a bad picture of Honolulu, I think. Oh wait, I got to sharing the wrong one. There's Honolulu. Gorgeous. Melbourne, Australia is coming in at number 7. And look at that. They got little Remax balloons in the photo. Good job, Remax. And then San Francisco. And again, the San Francisco photo. This is what I'm saying. Like, I think they wanted to stress like how gorgeous some of the places are. And then for the US, how maybe less glamorous it is. But they could have chosen, here's the alternate art. They could have chosen a photo like that, with gorgeous night lights and cool city. And so there's a lot that they could have done to improve the photo. But instead, they pictured the top part of the Golden Gate Bridge looking through a smoggy haze city of San Francisco. And Adelaide, Australia. Gorgeous picture of Adelaide. And then number 10, San Diego. San Diego. And is it German? So San Diego. Here's another alternate art photo they could have chosen for San Diego. So, all right, there you go. So on the top 10 list in the U.S., we have 10 San Diego, 8 San Francisco, 6 Honolulu, 5 Los Angeles, 4 San Jose, 1 was Hawaii, and the other 4, 3. Let's count now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the other 3 were California. So by far the more placed. Good job, Mike, inflating those prices over there. Just kidding. That's what I got for today. Thank you guys for joining a little bit shorter show this week. There just wasn't a ton of new news, but I hope you enjoyed it. And please take a second to do all the subscriber things and share the show with somebody that you think needs to know exactly what's happening in real estate. And shout out to Josh, who I met last week, a fan of the show. I appreciate you listening for these last 10 months. And I guess that's it. So if you guys want to join I'm going to put something on my Instagram. Go to Razorback, RAYZORBACK. If you want to join the contributor chat, I'm going to put a link in my stories as soon as I get off the show today. And you can join the contributor chat. It's been kind of quiet, but hopefully we'll spice it up and be talking about some of the news stories and stuff like that that's coming out. So that's all I got. Love you. Thanks for coming. I'll see you next week. Bye.